You are watching Omnis Protocol. I am Charles, also known as Omnis, and I'm back with another Star Wars Shatterpoint battle report. And what I've got for you this particular week, by the way, happy holidays to everyone, but I am playing Ahsoka with Pawns and Seven Scorch with Cassian and Dengar and Bazin Chirrut. I have definitely been on a break from playing Cassian and Boss, just trying to explore other things, want to be ready for whatever potential meta 2026 is going to bring. But I really wanted to play Ahsoka again, and I had been thinking about how she synergizes with Cassian, and I really wanted to put that on the table. So I after months of not playing them, I do have a Cassian game, so bear with me. Now, my opponent, Pat, awesome gentleman. He is playing the Riff box with the Dooku box. Roughly concept here is loves Sharkman, wants to play more Sharkman, had been playing him with Grievous, and it just felt a little bit like he was doing too much of the same thing. And so he really wants to consider trying with a few other packages, and he's considering like the Charming Leia box. But we wanted to see how the Dooku box would play with it and what sort of synergies arose, and if they kind of covered each other's squad's weaknesses. So let's go ahead and dig right into the game, shall we? All right. We are playing on Sabotage Showdown this time around, and this is my Mustafar table, which has some 3D prints, some classic stuff. So I believe he has one priority, so he's got 6 force because of Dooku, and I'm sitting at 5. But one of the interesting things about this particular list is the 5 force goes a lot further than you would probably expect. Just because you have so many characters who can do an activation without spending force, or going at least force neutral. Like, everyone but the primaries is very easy to go force neutral, and even sometimes Ahsoka can go force neutral if she's activating late in the deck and has already been kind of up in the mix and doesn't need to spend for force speed. So you really get to kind of use some of your weird powers however you want. So Pat pulled Dooku first, which I think is a good pull for his list. He certainly doesn't mind just getting Dooku up onto a point early, especially on Sabotage Showdown. So he starts off by giving a dash to the Magna Guard, and then dashes himself forward. That's how Dooku's tactic works. So it's pretty clear here that he's going to kind of bunker up on that left objective. You know, when you get to start with 2 bodies, and honestly, both of them are fairly durable. I know a lot of people haven't seen that much Magna Guard, you know, probably in the last 6 months or so, but they still have really solid defenses and 9 health. So they do not go down that easy. So what he's kind of trying to figure out here is that there are 2 different ingress points, but we really can't just use one for both characters. And so he's electing to have Dooku move further and take the ingress point that's closer to my side of the table, and then the Magna Guard will get to do a follow-up, which he was concerned that Magna Guard was not going to be able to hit that far ladder. So let's see. So he's electing to move the back one, it looks like. And now, did not realize this when we set up the table, but there's actually some scatter on that part. And there's a full-length ladder, but the scatter is actually blocking you from placing within range 1 of the ladder if you're trying to only go halfway. Which is not really an intentional thing when we set it up. It just kind of ended up being a happy accident, I guess, to my benefit. And I was trying to decide afterwards if I felt like that's an interesting setup that I want to recreate, or not. But either way, Pat ends up starting off scoring 3. And he at least has Dooku, and the Magna Guard is within range to grant him cover, at least. It was also a Force Zero activation to start things off, which is definitely nice. I pulled Cassian first, and as much as I like to be rarely reserved, I was looking at the situation and I was just not confident that Cassian was going to be able to get Dooku off that point. It's going to end up in a situation where Dooku's going to roll +3 defense dice most likely, unless I get into melee with him, which is kind of worse. And I just didn't feel like Cassian right now was going to be able to threaten that back point where the Magna Guard is. That's on the kind of upper left of your screen. So yeah, as much as I really didn't want to, I went ahead and reserved Cassian. And then I pull Ahsoka, so primary sitting at the top of decks. This, however, is fine. Her strength is not her activation, so I was definitely okay with her coming up now and just being like, all right, well, we're both going to take a midline objective with our super tanky primaries and kind of make this game about fighting over each other's back points, which I thought was going to be really interesting as soon as I saw this happen. Like, it was just going to be awkward. Now here, what I'm thinking about with the positioning of her, because there was a lot of different options for where to have her go. And here I'm just kind of making the final decision. It's like, do I want to like brace myself against something? And I started thinking, like, there's aqua droids on that side of the table, and they're the thing that probably threaten her the most, but they would really need to get into melee. And so my thought process was, initially I was like, do I want to try to block the ingress points? And to try to make it so the aqua droids can't join her. Here, a first thought, so I did score 3. And you probably saw on the screen that he was flipping to his defensive stance. He had said he was going to flip to his defensive stance, and then I was like, hey, you want to do the Magna Guard movement now before you move on to switching stances? That would be the correct order. And then he's like, oh, can I still switch stance? I'm like, yes, definitely. You said you wanted to do it. I was just trying to help you out with the right order. I don't want you screwed out of being on the right stance with him. At first glance, I was like, Magna Guard aren't really going to do much. And then I was like, oh no. Because of where that ingress point is, we realized that he could easily have the Magna Guard on the left, hunker, fall down onto the ground, easily walk to the ingress point and take my back point, and then the other one could hunker, walk forward, and join Dooku on that objective. And then I would be put in a really awkward spot for that side of the table. And to be entirely honest, like, in this moment, I was very much like, how am I going to come back from this? We're just kind of discussing, like, what's the best order to kind of resolve this. Because it's like, it was just kind of a question. You walk and hunker first, but the most important thing was taking my back point, and it would just be better with the hunker first. I believe there was just like a little bit of terrain over there, so the Magna Guard couldn't take like the most direct path. Just putting on that hunker token. The Magna Guard, it easily hits that ladder now. And so now I'm just sort of asking Pat, like, where do you want to be? Do you want to be the full forward? Like, do you want to try to block ingress point space? And so that's what he decides on. Okay. And now the other Magna Guard after the hunker can definitely walk forward. And we're looking to see if he can fit up there, which it looks like he definitely can. So now he has definitely secured that side very strongly. And even though I scored 3 on my turn, he scored 4. So we're not ending on 0, which is immediately like nervous area where sabotage can go on for a long time if you're not careful. And so I know that I kind of need to make a big play very quickly. As always, I consider my character that's in reserve so that I can get them activated if I need them. But I'm like, man, I don't see how Cassian, Cassian could definitely shove off one Magna Guard, but I don't think me letting him score 4 and then me scoring 3 is going to do anything but put me behind. And so I'm thinking I need to threaten his back points as much as possible, and I need to change the fight. Because right now the fight is like totally happening on my side of the board. I reveal the next card. It is Shatterpoint, which is as good as you can ask for in this moment. And so here, because I'm playing pawns, my 7 Scorch are actually a little further up the table than where they would normally be. And so I start looking at this and going, wait a second. There is a non-zero chance that I could actually score 5 points with 7 Scorch. If I can facilitate where they shove the Magna Guard off of the point, because I still have models contesting that point, so all I need to do is get that one Magna Guard off, while also getting my 7 Scorch far enough up the board where I could steal those 2 points on his side of the board. And if I can score 5, that would put me in an absolutely wonderful place. I mean, when does scoring 5 not put you in a great place? So it's just a question like, can I do all of this geometry and make this happen? Because Django, who's in the kind of top middle, he's just not quite on that objective. It had been a Magna Guard who started off contesting it, and then the other one that was in the back moved forward. So here I'm just going, okay, so 7 Scorch are going to do their dash, and here I want to get as far forward as I can, but still be within range. And so this is all math that you'd get to, that you would be able to kind of like, you would be able to know. And so it's just kind of figuring out that optimal angle. Okay. So I've done the initial movement for 7 Scorch. The first one that is further away is going to attack first. Yeah. So the Magna Guard is going to roll 7 dice because it has a hunker token and is on terrain. So really here I'm just hoping to get a shove. However, the Magna Guard manages to roll 5 fails. So he ends up with 2 blocks overall, which starts me off fairly strong. So I remove 2 fails, remove 2 hits. I'm going to go 3 down. Fairly average roll for me. So here I'm just going... I'm going to do 4 damage, strange shove. Because here I wanted to get a lot of damage through and have potential for the wound. Since the first one went well enough, I'm like, if I can go 3 down again, 4 damage and strain will kill them. Yeah. Now, here is where I make a mistake, and you probably already caught it. I declared that I was attacking the same Magna Guard. The reality is I should have been shooting the one that's over by Dooku, because the defenses are going to be the exact same, but it is a much better shove angle for me. So that was a fairly significant mistake for me that I just lost track of in the moment. I saw red a little bit, and I was just very focused on killing that one. And so I end up getting it exactly to the point where I'd get 3 successes again, 4 damage plus strain pushes me to 5 damage, which is exactly what I need to kill a Magna Guard. So I already know that I'm going to retake that point in the back. So now the question is, realizing, because I didn't go far enough down to get like a bonus climb or something. It's just not seeming like I have any potential. And this is here where I'm realizing in the moment, oh no, I should have been attacking the other guy. That one shove forward, probably would have meant that I was going to score 5 points, and which would be like astronomically great swing for me. So what I'm considering is, my whole plan was to go after his back point, but I got a wound, retaking the left back point on your screen. And now I'm kind of going, where do I want 7 Scorch to go? Do I want to put both of them on the objective in front of him? And so I have that one, walk, hit a ladder. I know that's what I'm doing either way. And I figure let's get that done, and that'll help me figure out where the other one's going to go. And so I'm even like, and honestly, I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, the math of me fitting, the guy will fit up the ingress point, but there's a significant question as to whether or not I can, place him from the ladder and still be in range of the objective. So I want him on a point. And so I'm electing to take this ingress point and make it so he's at least going to be hard to melee from the aquas. And so I'm like, hey, let's just kind of take up the real estate around this objective and around those ingress points. So if the aqua droids come up, which are very, very threatening, that at least I might be protected and force them to do ranged attacks where I'm getting bonus expertise from. Yeah. So yeah, definitely feeling the like, oh man, I definitely had a play to score 5 and then I just messed it up. But still 4 points plus a wound is certainly a great turn and swings things back in my favor. So pretty good turn there still for me. But if you're thinking about like top tier competitive play, like that's the kind of thing, if you miss out on those moments with your target selection, that is the sort of thing that could lose you a tournament. And then he pulls Shatterpoint. And so always love the games where there's not like a really significant order deck advantage one way or the other. So we're both, kind of hitting primaries early, hitting Shatterpoint early. So now the best possible play for him, obviously, gut reaction here is it's time for Aqua Droids to do some work. You're kind of happy with the Dooku already being on a point. Bringing the Magna Guard back isn't hugely helpful, but maybe it's something that could have been worth considering more than maybe I expected. But no, they're not. Well, you could get them onto a point, declare a combat action to jump Riff forward, but yeah, it's probably just worth doing the Aqua Droids. My first instinct is you would like to utilize the Aqua Droids and try to get a wound on 7 Scorch when there's not a great reprisal, where there isn't a ton of models, where you're just going, well, okay, where can Ahsoka go to potentially cause me problems? Nobody else is potentially changing a score anywhere. So this would certainly be a good moment to get a wound if you can. You just want to make sure that Ahsoka just can't mess up the whole plan for you. So yeah, here we're just kind of discussing like, hey, what is the plan here? Is it truly Aqua Droid? Is there anything else that, should be considered? And then, okay, well then you got to pick them. Like, what is the best play? Because there's conversation about reinforcing that that back left point. You definitely want to at least take the one that's right in front of you. How is there a way to score 4? Because they are surprisingly mobile. Like, I don't think it would be crazy if both of the Aquas ended up going up the ingress point, both got to punch Sev, and killed him and potentially create a situation where with the dash movement and stuff that like maybe they go back and take the other point, but you've got revenge triggers to factor in. So it gets very hard to plan the whole thing out. So here, I believe he wants to do the dash and focus part first. And he's just figuring out kind of where he's going to put them. You know, obviously 7 Scorch are steadfast in protection while they're on objectives. And that was one of the other reasons why I didn't really want to take the risk of having one not on an objective and potentially be giving him a model where he could attack and then I wouldn't have protection, which would make them drastically easier to kill. So it looks like both of them have dashed forward, have gained a focus. I will be honest, in this moment playing, I'm like, whoa, what exactly is your plan for these guys here? What are you going after? And I, you know, sometimes especially, there's been locals who have definitely caught me and I've just been like, I did not see that coming at all. So I believe that one then climbed up. And now we're just trying to figure out where that other Aqua Droid is going to go, who's currently kind of under the gantry. I think he had walked towards the ingress point, but didn't get quite close enough to utilize it. Looks like he's electing to do a full advance forward. He walked towards that ladder. Definitely didn't look like he was going to be able to go up it. But we'll see what he's going for. There is certainly a world where if he can get the kill and then maybe get the one who's in front of Ahsoka off the point, and maybe those two can gang up on Ahsoka, and then Riff can take the back point. So I believe here we're going to do the melee attack first, which is going to go up to 10 dice because I'm back in front of both Nos and Riff. So he is going to get a big 10 dice attack. I rolled a pretty piss poor block, 2 fails, 2 expertise. So it's going to be like basically 1 block. He rolled 4 expertise, which becomes 2 crits, so not a great conversion rate there. So he's going to full tree. So I'm definitely getting nervous already. So he is going to go for 2 shoves so that he can get me off the point since I'm steadfast. And then I believe I'm taking... It's hard to see if I took 3 or 4 damage with that particular selection. Because it looks like there might be a token on top of a token. I think it was 4 damage, because I think he did 5 reduced to 4. Because he chose the shove spot that does no damage. Yeah. He was flipping. I was like, wait, if you kill me, there's Ahsoka stuff that can happen. So let's hold off. I was like, hey, you're measuring with your range 4. They are range 5 attackers. All right. So now is taking a range attack, which is worse expertise. And I am not going to have protection. I do get another defense dice. I end up with 3 blocks crit to hit. He rolled 5 expertise, a fail, a hit, and a crit. So he ends up with crit, hit from the expertise. So I'm going to end up... so he's going to end up going 1 down, because he had 2 crits, 2 hits. I turn 1 crit to a hit, and then block 3. And so I just end up taking 2 more damage, putting me at 6. So I'm now feeling very lucky that I'm alive. So nothing too crazy. I was certainly wondering if maybe the one in the back was going to try to shove Dengar off of the point, which maybe the fact that it was Dengar might have saved me, because Dengar is steadfast, where it would make that play a little less likely. But I think there certainly could have been a play there where the second one, because you already know the first one's going to score, and then the other one could potentially get a 4th score, because he's not quite on the point. Or no, that's Pawns. Sorry, Pawns is on that side. So yeah, double shove could knock Pawns off that point, and that's only like 3 down. So I certainly think there's a world where he could have gone after my back point there, instead of trying to go for the wound, which he did not end up getting. So he scores 3, which takes us back to 0. I elect to not activate Cassian, and then 7 Scorch come up. And I'm very happy this is happening before they get wounded, because otherwise it would be setting me up for them potentially leaving the table in the second shuffle. So I'm really happy that I'm getting to utilize them now. We realized that we forgot to put status effects on them, so we're getting the status effects put on now. So now I'm just going, okay, how can I score 5 now? Is that feasible? And I'm feeling like it probably is. But there's some like, am I healing in this situation? What am I doing? Because I've got to do the dash first. So there's a lot of weird moving parts here that I'm like, how do I make all of this happen? And Riff's on the bottom, so I need to be on the right level to take control of it. So that one dashes and hits the ingress point and kind of goes behind the Aqua Droid. And so that one dashes down, staying outside of range 2 of Django. But I've still got a disarm to be thinking about. So I'm going to heal 1 damage and disarm. And so now I've also realized, like, I've also made my ability to shove them actually a lot more complicated, because I think I now pinned, because I can't shove the Aqua Droid backwards into 7 Scorch, right? Because I kind of pinned him there. And with where Riff is at, I can't melee him and try to shove him down that direction. And then there is a piece of scatter that's basically right below the Aqua Droid. Might be a little hard to see on this camera, but you can kind of see how it's covering up some of the grading. And so I'm like, wow, that is actually shoving. Now I'm like, I might have to kill them. Like, I might just have to get the wound if I want to go for the big score. But I think that's okay. So Punchy Guy is going to go first. He's going to have 4 in melee. I'm going to roll 6 because it's a melee attack. Bad roll for both of us. He has 1 block, I had 4 fails, but I had 1 expertise, so I end up with 3 successes. He blocks 1, so I still go 2 down. I'm thinking, who cares about shoves? I just really need to get wounds. So I go for 3 damage strain, which is reduced to 2 because of protection. Now the other one is taking a shot. And so this one's going to be 7 dice versus 5. Or might still be 4. I forget for the Aqua Droids. 3 blocks, crit to hit. I end up going 3 down. So I do 5 damage shove, which is reduced. I believe that was factoring in. I think I was going down the strain tree, and I was just factoring in strain into the damage. And so now I'm going to roll. So I have 6 damage out of 8 on them, but their explosives add strain if I get a damage through. So I need 1 success, which I got. And so that does 2 to him. So now 2 turns in a row, basically, 7 Scorch have perfectly got the wound exactly to the point. So even though there was some not great dice in those rolls, it has definitely felt like, could feel like a totally different game if those rolls were just like 1 success different one way or the other. Yeah, so with that wound and scoring 5, that just straight up ends the struggle, right? And that is 3rd activation for me. And so we started discussing this after the game. This may be a little more introspection than what you want in the middle. He was deploying first. It's Sabotage, so you know the one on the ground is going to be active. And the way that Riff often plays is that Nos almost like really can be delayed to your last activation. And I think if he had switched sides and made it so Nos was the one who was on the bottom objective, so you get to start off with this guy who can't be shot at, starting on the ground objective, would probably have slowed things down significantly. I would have switched my deployment sides as well, because I was trying to deploy Ahsoka opposite of Riff, not opposite of Dooku. I was really concerned that she was going to do nothing into Dooku, and I wanted to be on the side where he was trying to get wounds. Okay. So either way here, I'm starting off scoring 2 and then just nobody's on the middle. So it's not a great pull, but I'm not sure how many of the Sabotage would be that much better for him. But it certainly would have been nice to have Dooku on an active point. I think we checked afterwards, and just 1 out of 3 cards could have chosen for Dooku to be on an active point. Now, 7 Scorch they were at 7 damage, and then I think I healed 1, so they're only at 6 out of 8. Yeah. All right, so what he's selecting is to have the one in front of Jango be active, and the one that Pawns is on be active. Which I think is a reasonable pick. I'm not sure you love either of them, but I think that's probably the right pull. Here he gets unlucky and gets the point in the back as the priority, so dice are certainly not trying to save Pat at this point. And he pulls Riff. Riff can certainly get a wound here and kill 7 Scorch, but there's also the consequences into a double revenge list where if you kill someone, Ahsoka can walk onto the middle. There's all sorts of complications that come here. Yeah. And he's doing okay on force, so there's certainly a world where you could reserve here. Pulling Aquas is possibly the best bet. So he's going to go ahead and reserve Nos, and he pulls Django. So you're just making sure he spends the force for the reserve. Yeah. There's certainly a world here where, like, I don't know if he can go far enough because of just where ingress points are at. Probably can get to that objective where Pons is on it, but I'm not sure if he'd have an angle to pull Pons off. I mean, he might have to roll some dice at some... Yeah, so I think what we're going to do here is he's going to focus to dash, and he just wants to score that back point and get a wound on 7 Scorch. Here we're just talking about that Django does have better ranged expertise. So he's going to focus, which gives him a free jump. And they're just going to be kind of right up against the 2, but just slightly outside of it. And then should be, I believe, an 8 dice attack. I think we might have forgotten about Riptide here, because he could add 2 dice to this as well. And we forgot about that in the moment. I end up with 3 blocks crit to hit. And unfortunately, he's only going to go 1 down. So not even going to get the wound. But there's a part of me that was kind of hoping for the wound. And so here he's going to spend the force to pull him off the point. And we were just agreeing on the angle. And boom. And then that his pull also pins. Yeah. All right, so here what we're talking about is he does have the ability to spend a force to jump, or kind of getting near the end, closer to the end of decks. Like, do you need all the force? Do you want Django a little further forward? Yeah. And so we're like, well, Nos isn't going to spend a force. Riff will probably be force neutral, where he'll probably spend 1, get a kill, get 1 back. And then all right, so unfortunately he only scores 1 there. That is definitely a situation where the priority roll was hurting him. Here I'm just remembering to roll for priority. Luck is on my side, and it's a point I'm already controlling. So my dice are definitely not doing Pat any favors either. What I'm thinking is like, Pawns I don't want, right? Because he's kind of already on a point. And so Pawns would definitely be a negative. Like, am I just willing to do Cassian now? Just to at least get him up the board and not risk a Pawns activation in this moment? And so I'm spending a force to dash him and another rebel. Yeah, and so I'm just there's not anything like super impactful for me to do with the rebel dash, but I'm just like kind of trying to prepare for either Cassian movement or make them better able to threaten back points later on. And so, all right, Cassian moves up there. I was checking to see if I could switch to the better shove side, but it would not be within range 4, so I'm staying on the range 5 side for the shot on Jango. Pretty good Jango block. So he ends up with like 5 blocks, but I end up with something that has very little hits, so I still have 3 crits. So I just do 6 damage and pin. I'm just thinking, soften him up, maybe make it difficult for him to move around. Try to complicate things since I'm not worried about taking that point right now. And so, yep, not anything else real special to do with that activation. I scored 3. Priority roll. Again, my back point where Pawns is at. The funny thing is, as I was talking about it in the moment, I was like, Pawns is yet to activate, and he has scored a ton of points for me. He is just racking in the value. All right. Pat pulls Nos here. And so we're just kind of discussing like, oh, he can reserve Nos for free now, and then he just has to decide if he wants Riff on the bottom or if he wants to do Riff. So he ends up taking the Aquas, which I think is the right play most likely. Yeah. And so he's like, he started grabbing stuff off of the Magna Guard by accident. And I was like, I think I did basically the exact same thing to both of them. So it's just damage and strain. So as long as there's a strain on there, then it's totally fine. So the good question here is, what are the Aquas going to do? They do kind of want to get a wound to, make sure that Riff has a force, but there's also just the steep consequence that I'm in the advantage position, and if he gets a wound, I'm getting 2 revenge triggers, and both of them are far. This is one of the things that gets kind of underrated with Ahsoka, is that unlike a Leia or Mother or Kanan, she can get a full advance, and so it can really like allow me to start spreading out characters onto key objectives when a dash wouldn't be quite enough. All right, so looks like he's going for spend 2 to get the dash and focus. I think Pawns is about to get punched in the face. What we're kind of discussing is, does he want to dash, hit the ingress point, punch Cassian? There's certainly a world here where, in retrospect, I think he wants to get the wound and wants to refresh the force. And I think that might actually just be a mistake here. I think there's a world where he could score all 4 and just not take the wound right now. And all right, so Aqua is punching Sev or Scorch, whichever one it is. And I'm pretty sure he's getting the wound here. Yeah, so he's getting the full tree, so definitely going to get the wound there. So he's just figuring out the path. Like you've got heals to think about. You've got dashing to think about. I really like the Aqua Droid tree in general. It's just such an interesting, thought-provoking tree that gives you multiple avenues to do cool things. Here, just kind of like considering some status effects. So here I'm just like, hey, finish resolving your tree. That needs to get totally done before I go ahead and do revenge trigger stuff. Yeah. And so here we're just talking about if he's not going after the ingress point, he can. This is a thing that people sometimes forget is that when you're doing your movement and you're ending on a gantry, you can choose to basically go through the gantry and be on the ground. Not through any terrain, but through gantries. And so he's dashing down and then healing Django, which I think is solid. I like that. Okay. So now it is revenge trigger time. He is electing to shove Sev and or Scorch down. I'm going to go ahead and just advance her, see if she happens to get into melee range, which I believe she doesn't. So just barely out. I didn't want to use Cassian's movement on her to make sure she was getting a score because I wanted to be able to disrupt this back point since it's the priority. And so Cassian is going to move Dengar up onto that point. Figuring this makes it so the Aqua Droid can't score the back point, which is the most important part for me continuing a winning position. Dengar did not end up in melee with the droid, so the droid has to attack pawns. 2 blocks from pawns. 3 expertise for the Aqua Droid. So it looks like 5 down. So full tree. I'm like, it's 7 damage to kill him if you want. But the Aqua Droid's max out at 6. So he cannot get the kill. So it's just kind of like what tools does he want to utilize? So the main thing here is because you're not scoring that objective, I think there's certainly a world here where you utilize his dash to move backwards towards the middle. And this is kind of what we're before he was resolving the whether he chooses to take a dash, I was like, is Riff going to be able to get onto this point? And I was like, well, it actually looks like here Riff can jump up, then take the ingress point down beyond the objective. And if the droid dashes backwards, then he's in a position where he's at least scoring the middle and can score 2. So here, just going, you can't shove him through Dengar, but you can shove him backwards a little. And then I'm just double checking, like, hey, how much damage did I need to put on poor Pawns here, who's just scoring me a gajillion points? So it looks like I am taking this full 6 damage. And he is going to dash towards the middle. And then Riff is going to go ahead and jump, hit the ladder, go down. This is a really good play to keep in mind for Riff. When you have the jumps and you can go up and then down an ingress point to gain extra movement, can really help Riff get into like the good spots that keeps you in a game. So he scores 2. We both gain a momentum. So priority roll. It is not block anymore. It is finally something that I have to actually go take. So it is Django's point. So I pull Baze and Chirrut. So Baze and Chirrut refresh a force. Now obviously, I think going after the Django point is a little bit complicated. I think my best bet is to try to retake the middle. I have 2 guys on it. He has 3 guys on it. And so here I'm just thinking about force expenditure, whether I want to go all out for their movement or if I can save a force for the other activations. But I'm like, Pons is not using a force. Dengar really at most needs 1. So spending 1 force for them is really not a big deal. So we got Baze and Chirrut moving forward. I always forget which side has which movement. So I'm going to flip sides for the free focus now. And I'm going to spend a force to utilize the reposition. And so the thought process here with the Baze placement was that in case the first one shoves the droid off the point, I wanted Baze to still potentially be in melee range of the other one. All right, so 4 dice on defense. I see 3 expertise. I see 4 hits, and I'm figuring out what the expertise becomes. Looks like I'm going to go 3 down. It was 4 expertise for the Aquas. So here what I'm debating is, do I take the expose so they don't get expertise on the next roll, or do I take the pin so that I can potentially utilize the pin to get an extra damage on the next one? And my thought process is if he rolls even a single expertise on the next roll, that's going to be at least 1 damage, maybe more. But if he rolls 0 expertise, then it does nothing, obviously. So I'm asking him, like, would you do me a favor and just roll all expertise here? Make sure you make my decision feel like it was a good one. And he rolls no expertise, 2 blocks. So I chose, maybe I still chose correctly. I had 2 fails, 2 expertise. The 2 expertise becomes a crit and a hit. He blocks 2, so I'm going 3 down. And so I think I would have gotten the wound had I chosen the pin route. So here it looks like I'm going to end up leaving them on 1. And so I'm doing 5 damage reduced to 4 and pinning them. So not quite enough to get a wound there, but I can't be always getting the exact numbers that I need every activation. But I do end up with 4 people on the point, so I take the middle and I score 2. All right. Then it rolls expertise, which is the middle. So now the question here is, how does Riff score? Because at this point, he's got 1 Aqua and Riff already on the middle, and I have 4 characters there. So even if he kills Baze and Chirrut, I would still have 2 characters on the point, at least. So Interesting position. Like sometimes when you get these primaries who don't move other characters, you can get kind of stuck in the spot when like the things are really stacking up and you don't have like a repulse or multiple attacks. It can definitely be difficult. And so like, how does Riff score? And the reality is I think there probably just isn't a way. Because if he goes after the back point, right, I still have 2 guys on it. And even if he gets a kill, I have revenge triggers. So how he takes one of these 2 points, man, if you're watching this video and you see a play for Riff to score a point, I would be very impressed. I mean, you could go for a wound just in general, but this is where coming back, I think he probably shouldn't have worried about wounding 7 Scorch when he did, because that giving me the ability to move Dengar onto a point and Ahsoka already onto a point really ended up helping me overall. Wait, I mean, big surprise. Like, getting to move your characters onto objectives is good. Like, I don't think that surprises anyone. I don't think I'm saying anything super clever. So here we're going is like, do you actually activate Nos here? Technically he flipped over the card, but I was like, we know you're just doing the last card. And so what I was wondering is like, could Nos walk forward? Could Nos move the Aqua Droid back onto the point? Oh, no, that doesn't work because the Aqua Droid is pinned. I finally did elect to pin them. So, but maybe Nos is the right play either way. No. Yeah, no, it's just it in a tough spot where it's like, how does one dig themselves out of this particular moment? My gut is like Riff is already on a point. I'm not sure you want to wound at this moment. Yeah, it's always tough when this is the situation I try to avoid. Yeah. What is there any interesting play? And like, it might just be a situation where you try to get some damage somewhere, just to like hope that you can delay things in the long term. But yeah, not sure exactly where that is. So he's come up with a decision for what to do. So he is going to activate Riff. I was just pointing out like, hey, you are engaged, so you would just use the dash tool here. Or you could jump and then dash. Yeah. I think he's going to get to where he wants to go either way. All right. Looks like he's moving to kind of melee range of Dengar. All right. So looks like we got a attack roll on Dengar. Seven. I don't know if this was with or without Riptide. He rolls 5 expertise. Dengar just has 2 blocks. So I think he's going 2 down, which is not wonderful for Riff. I think he's going to do some damage and some healing. 3 damage. I don't know if we forgot to put extra damage on Dengar for Riff's bonus 2 damage. Oh, there we go. We're just remembering it. So I take 2 more damage there. He scores 1, gains a bonus momentum. Now I get Dengar. Priority roll. I'm just hoping it's not Django's point. It is not. So here it's, do I try to shove Riff away? Do I try to go for the kill on the Aqua? I was just giving him back his templates that I stole from him. We just remembered, it was like, oh yeah, it doesn't need to be a hunker token on Ahsoka. All right, so Dengar takes his free dash forward, and he will focus. And just roll a 9 dice melee attack into the Aqua Droid. Got to roll dice in the tray, Charles. I always like reading off what the name of their expertise trees are. And so I'm like, extreme prejudice. So I end up 4 hits, 2 crits, 1 expertise. The 1 expertise ends up being a hit and a crit. I remove 3 hits for his 3 blocks. He also makes an expertise into a hit, but I go 5 down, which is full tree. They have 2 health left and protection. So I end up doing 7 damage, strain, disarm, expose. So I gain a momentum there for Dengar getting a wound. I score 3, and then it is his turn. And the problem, we're back into the situation that we were kind of in the last turn, where it's like, how does Nas score a point here? We now have wounded Aquas. We're like, there probably isn't anything you can do. I'm wondering, what I was wondering is, like, maybe the one thing that you go for is if he could dash forwards, hit the ladder, and so he gives himself the dash, goes up, so he gets to like just gain at least a little bit of distance. And now take a move action, land on top, so he can use that ingress point and go down. And then he just had to stay outside of range 2 of Dengar, which he did. And looks like he's got range 4 on pawns. And I was like, oh, maybe there's a play here. So he does get to Riptide and go up to 8 dice. Pawns as roll ends up with 3 blocks. I'm fine with that. Three expertise becomes 2 hits. I have 1 health left on pawns. And so here, one of the considerations is a lot of tournaments do wounds as a tiebreaker. So at least getting the wound here, if you're not feeling like you're going to take the game, it is good to get another wound on your docket. I don't love that tiebreaker personally, but most people use it. So it looks like he is going to shove me, kill pawns, and get Nas onto the point, giving him a momentum. And now I have revenge triggers. Or he gets to heal first. So he's going to go ahead and heal a status effect off the droid. So revenge trigger. Thinking here, probably do Ahsoka first. Well, there was certainly a part of me that was wondering if there was a way where I could facilitate moving two people and take the point from Jango, but I don't think I can do both. So she's going to walk over the Aqua Droid and make an attack on Nos. Figure I might as well take an attack with Ahsoka since it's an Ahsoka video. I roll the 6 dice. I get 2 fails. Somehow I never seem to roll that well with Ahsoka. She's upset I don't play her more. So I end up with 2 crits, 2 hits. So he blocks both hits and he gets a free defensive reposition with the 4. So I'm not even going to shove Nos off a point. So I just do 2 damage, a shove, and a jump. And I'm just kind of keeping her within range 2, but still on the point. But so she can kind of move back towards the middle. He repositions back onto the point. So now we have 2 and 2 on that particular point. I have a Cassian trigger, but I'm just not sure it matters in this moment. Not much to do here. I think I'm just going to remove the pin off 7 Scorch just in case that matters later on, because I'm not sure I wanted to move anyone else. All right, and then he is going to score 1 point, which means I got to roll for priority, see if I have to do anything. It is a point that I'm already controlling, so that is going to close out the game. Certainly the game ended up feeling at least a little one-sided. For a game where there was a point where I was very worried what was going to happen with the first struggle when he was able to score 4 with the Magna Guard. Certainly I could have gotten unlucky with my order deck in that moment if that next card was Pawns or Dengar. I'm maybe taking back 1 point and scoring 3, and that could have definitely set things the other direction where I end up losing. I also think if he had switched the deployment sides, right, and Ben had Nos kind of holding down that back point and being difficult to shoot at, would have made it much more difficult for me to eventually take one of his back points, and I do think Sabotage is a really important mission for how you can attack back points and how you can protect your own back points. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. Probably also could have chosen to not get the wound when he did and maybe just let himself try to gain a points advantage in that moment and save that wound. But that is always the challenge against a revenge focused list like this, where you either have to just not be getting wounds almost at all, or you need to get them going fast enough that it makes it so Cassian has nobody to safely move on to points anymore because everybody's wounded or already on points. And so, but with how fast this game was going, it just never really gave Riff a chance to do that. And I definitely think Riff prefers the longer game because as more wounds build up, he just gets stronger and stronger. And so, I ended up playing a very fast game, and that just didn't work out to Riff's kind of advantage overall. But I do think if you want to play Ahsoka, I love this Cassian and Ahsoka combination. I think there's some room to play around with it. I don't think you would have to play this exact version. And I do have a video on the specific list with Kevin or Sith Emperor Kevin doing commentary with me. I don't know if that's releasing before or after this, but we'll kind of dive into the list decisions a lot more. But overall, Pat, thank you so much for playing a game with me and allowing me to record the game. You are always a blast to play with, and I'm looking forward to seeing like what you do with Riff down the road. And I hope this is something where it just feels like it's helping you level up your game, because I still feel like I learned some really interesting things about this game, and I think some of the subtleties of deployment in Shatterpoint is something I would like to get better at personally. And I'm glad we had a really, really good discussion after this game. And it definitely reminded me how much I'm like, man, I need to spend more time just having a good dojo about a game afterwards. Cause I think Pat and I talked about this game for probably 30, 45 minutes or something. And we were talking through a lot of different things. And I just felt like I was learning a lot, just kind of dissecting it and taking the time to absorb all the information and make different considerations about what order to do things and where to deploy. And just overall, that would be my encouragement to everyone. So I will close things out with the most OP thing that you can do is have a great discussion with your opponent after games so that you are learning as much from every one of these games that you play. Later, nerds.